Hey everyone! So today I'm here to review the NYX Highlight and Contour Pro Palette. It retails for $25 US, $27 in Canada, and contains 8 pans in total that are 0.09 ounces each. 4 contouring shades and 4 highlighting shades in pearl and satin matte finishes. It is said to be a refillable highlight and contour palette to emphasize your favorite features. The packaging is a plastic palette with a large transparent window to see the product. The plastic that the palette is made out of does feel quite thin and fragile, so it may not be the best for travel, but the individual powders can be popped out of the palette to swap or replace shades if need be. The singles can be purchased for $5 US or $6 in Canada, and there are 4 additional shades on top of the ones that come in the palette originally. While I do appreciate that they have made additional shades than just the ones that came to begin with, I really wish that you had the option to customize from the very beginning with an empty palette and pick the ones that you want. Or just that the palette came in different options to begin with, i.e. having a separate palette for fair to medium skin tones and then another palette that's geared more towards medium to dark skin tones. Because the additional shades that are available are more on the lighter side, so it would have been nice to see either 2 different palette options or just be able to customize it from the get-go. With that said, of course you could easily just purchase the singles on their own, but keep in mind however that the pans do come housed in the little plastic insert, so they're not going to be magnetized, so they won't stick into a Z palette or just a magnetic empty palette that you can purchase. But I do like that they sell all of the shades single, and I do like that you can refill the palette. Ice Queen is a light white with cool undertones and a frosted finish. The texture was soft, smooth, and had mostly opaque, buildable color payoff. The powder blended very easily on the skin, which really made the finish controllable whether you wanted a stronger sheen or just a subtle hint of something there. However, I did find that applying too much product could emphasize the look of pores or imperfections on the skin. Ice Queen wore well for 8 hours before fading. Soft Light is a light off-white beige with neutral undertones and a matte finish. The texture was soft, smooth, but quite powdery both in the pan and lightly once applied to the skin. It could be built and blended to a degree, but I felt the more I worked the product into my skin with a brush to try and make it not look so powdery and sitting on top of the skin, the more it disappeared, and not in the good blended type of way. Soft Light lasted 6.5 hours before fading. Cream is a light yellow cream with warm undertones and a matte finish. The texture was soft, smooth, finely milled, and had great buildable pigmentation. It was powdery in the pan, which didn't translate once applied to the skin, but I felt that the powder actually just sat on top of my skin rather than blending into it. Cream wore well for 7 hours before fading. Nectar is a light to medium peach with hints of yellow, warm undertones, and a fine shimmer finish. The texture was soft, smooth, but once again lightly powdery both in the pan and once applied to the skin. The finish left a very subtle, shimmery effect to the cheeks, which never emphasized pores or imperfections. Nectar lasted 7 hours before fading. Tan is a medium to dark brown with slight hints of red, warm undertones, and a satin matte finish. The texture was soft and smooth, but unlike the highlighting powders, it was more dense in the pan. It had good pigmentation that could be built to a degree, but the firmer consistency made it a little bit trickier to pick up with a brush and blend evenly on the skin. Tan lasted 7.5 hours before fading. Toffee is a medium to dark brown with slight hints of yellow, warm undertones, and a satin finish. This shade had good buildable pigmentation, and it did leave behind a slight sheen to the cheeks once applied. The texture was also soft, smooth, blended out easily without being firm or powdery. Toffee wore well for 7.5 hours before fading. Sculpt is a medium to dark muted brown with slight hints of gray, warm undertones, and a satin matte finish. The texture was soft, smooth, but a tad powdery in the pan, but unlike the other powdery shades, it didn't translate as powdery once applied to the skin. It had nice pigmentation that blended out very easily and looked natural once applied. It was also the closest of the 4 contour shades to being the most matte. Sculpt lasted 8 hours before fading. Hollow is a medium to dark brown with slight hints of red, warm undertones, and a satin finish. The texture was soft, smooth, but once again, it was quite dense in the pan. It did have nice pigmentation though, and just a heads up that it is the darkest shade available, even including the additional singles that you can purchase. The firmer consistency made it a little bit more difficult to blend out evenly, but the pigmentation could easily be sheared or built depending on your desired needs. Personally, because I'm fair, I kind of liked that it was a bit more dense because it was harder to go overboard and apply too much. Hollow lasted 8 hours before fading. So overall, it's definitely a nice, affordable, cheaper alternative to the higher end contouring and highlighting palettes, because those ones typically range from $44 to about $55 depending where you live, which one you get, etc. So the price is definitely there for this NYX one. Like I said, despite the fact that there are more powdery and firm textures that can be a little more time consuming to work with, the palette does contain a nice variety of shades that can be mixed and matched to suit a wide variety of skin tones. Plus, the singles refill feature is very appealing and convenient. So be sure to let me know in the comments below if you have checked this palette out, if you are planning to, or just in general what your favorite contouring and highlighting palette is. As always, don't forget to check out my blog for more details, photos, and swatches, as well as like, comment, and subscribe to show your support. If you'd like to give me a follow, I will have all of my social media listed here, as well as down in the description. As I always say, I hope you found this review helpful, and I hope that you're having a fantastic day, and thank you so much for watching.